Hey, let's check out what happened here with the water level. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, there's still a little bit of it. It's not covered, but it's basically all covered. The platform in front of the stairs. So, nature takes its course. Got the waning moon up there on top of that tree towards the center. So now you have seen all around. It's interesting, this morning we have Naaman the Syrian from the kingdom of Aram. Where's the kingdom of Aram? And they had a language, Aramaic, which later became the language of all the Neo-Babylonian Empire and became the spoken language at the time of Jesus. And Kathleen has been presenting in the pilgrimage the Our Father in Aramaic. It's treasured here as the oldest Our Father, the oldest spoken continuous Our Father in Aramaic. And there are even Christians here who call themselves Aramaic Christians because of descent from the Aramean people. And so Aram, the kingdom of Aram, reached the Sea of Galilee and all across through Syria. And it had a heyday. It never became a really big empire. And it was that when the Assyrians, I think, they actually took over the region, so that was the conquest of the northern kingdom of Israel, then that's when Aramaic, the language of the Aram people, was made the language of the maybe the Assyrian Empire. Yeah. So it's interesting that at the time of Jesus, Aramaic would be the local language, but the kingdom of Aram would be perceived as a foreign, as an enemy kingdom. You know, politics changes like that a lot. Now, in the macro picture, you know, we're talking about centuries, and you have peoples emerging and disappearing, and that process will continue in humanity as long as humanity is humanity. Cultural shifts, trade shifts. The pity, well, then obviously there's competition, and then there's claim and desire to control, and then there's conflict that becomes bellicose and fatal for life, destructive. People get declared as enemies. The broken humanity since Cain and Abel. When I see archaeology, I think, you know, this was a flourishing road. There's a road here, this part here, I think it's above other archaeology we have here on the site. So it was from the 2nd century, if I remember correctly. So the time of the tower over there, the Roman period tower, and maybe that's after the Bar Kokhba rebellion. And you know, when you see this is a flourishing port area, and when you see that reality, you think, wow, you know, it's amazing how archaeology is all that's left from thriving cultures and economies and politics. Sometimes it's taken out by lethal realities like a tsunami or an earthquake, and many times by war, by human destruction. the ability of the human being to destroy. And so enmities arise and people hate peoples. I mean, in theory, there should be ideal collaboration between England and Ireland. The big difference came between the two in the Industrial Revolution. England developed a lot of industry. It had a lot of coal, iron, and then it became a big power. It already had dominated Ireland before because it's an agricultural economy. It didn't have something different. But then they could really have collaborated instead of imposing. And then when people are imposed upon, our liberty cries out and we say, let us free. You can't do that to us. You can't impose on us. And to be able to read history also with that bigger view, also to reconcile old hatreds, inherited hatreds. And so many conflicts that have arisen. And that's kind of a backdrop to the story of Naaman, the Syrian, and the king of Israel is scared because when this general is sent by his king to get a miracle, the king said he's looking for a quarrel. You know, we immediately think conflict. We immediately think we're very susceptible, suspicious. We doubt good intention easily. It's a great story. A lot of drama in this story. I recommend you to read it, maybe even to read a little bit more of the environment of that chapter, and just also taste humanity, and also as a help to get a bigger picture, to stand back. Like you climb up on the hill here on the Mount Arbel and you get a view of the whole region, you know, all the lake region. Great view. Another great place to do that is over on Hippos. It's a great view of the lake right across here from us, a little bit to the right of the intense light. Maybe over those bushes that are right here in front of us out in the water. There's two sets, so the northern set here to the left, that one would correspond to exactly where Hippos is, right across from us. And you go up on top there, you see it. So like when you're reading this text from a history that goes back almost 3,000 years, and you survey what happened meanwhile, then you realize that empires come and go. And so many wars are fought and so many people are killed. People are taken captive. And here we actually have a northern Israelite girl who is a slave, a captive, so she's doing menial tasks. And obviously there seems to be a good relationship in the family, because she says to the wife of this man who's become a leper, you know, there's a prophet in Israel and he could cure your husband. So there you have a girl who's a captive, and she's helping her captive people. Sorry, her captors, the ones who took them, who have dominion over them. There's something about the human heart that can transcend political conflict, even bellicose conflict, to help wounded people, to help impoverished people, to provide humanitarian help. And then there are other people who manipulate all these things for all kinds of reasons. And then there are people in desperate need that need a lot of structured, ordered help to have the basics for survival, because it's horrible to be dying of hunger and starvation, illness that could be cured. Isn't this incredible scenery this morning? All these reflections. You see the reflections here of Mount Arbel in the lake, and you have the trees reflecting in the lake, and even some of the white of the buildings in Tiberias. to heal the wounds of history. And so we have that whole story then, how Naaman comes with a letter from the king, and that's what riles the king of northern Israel. And then Elisha said, well, go tell him there's a prophet here, send him to me. You stay out of it. Do your politics, but don't be trying to heal lepers. And don't get scandalized that there's a possibility to heal them. Sometimes our own petty interests block an action God can do because of jealousies. And actually this plays out later, because when the guy is healed, the story is a very, very big story told among the Jewish people. So it's part of the culture. I mean, Jesus tells the story and he just has to mention it. He just has to mention it in a certain key. And his own contemporaries in Nazareth, 800 years, 900 years later, get all angry. And they want to kill Jesus because he mentioned this story. Their patriotism and nationalism is so high that they want to take out Jesus. They're just deeply wounded still. They're traumatized by the fact that a person can be cured in an enemy camp. Some people want the enemies totally destroyed. Sometimes in fights, between people, families, family disputes, they get very grievous. What cartels can do to people, mafia type groups. It's really amazing. We need to pray a lot that these wild passions, savage passions of the human heart can be brought under control, and they cause a lot of damage to humanity. And then these people in Nazareth, because of this historical prejudice and their pride, they end up refusing the offer that Jesus brings. Many people could have been healed if they exercised a little more faith. Now we're getting a little bit more breakdown of the reflections here, because we don't have Mount Arbel reflecting since we're this closer to the location, and we just have the trees. We can see their individuality in the water. Perspective in history, perspective emotionally. Probably those two words don't go together. In perspective and emotion. To get perspective, you have to pull back a little from the emotional entanglement. And that's why then parents can be a little stronger with a difficult child. Firm in the principle, kind, but firm in the principle, loving when there's difficulty, because they have perspective of life. And the 4-year-old or the 2-year-old child that's kicking and screaming doesn't have that perspective. Political leaders need to have great perspective as well and be able to sacrifice criticism sometimes to help people to appreciate the value of a long-term commitment and deferred reward. Things take sacrifice to accomplish. pilgrimage of prayer can deepen our prayer life, because prayer is the best perspective, seeing things from God's vision, from God's viewpoint. God's hand at work in history, God's hand at work in other people, living in God's presence, letting God be God in our lives. People, God bless you. See you later, alligators. The sun is pretty sharp today. The sunlight. Have a blessed day. Help people to overcome perspectives today with kindness and patience. See you later, alligators.